Miles, a channel that is all about inspiring others to enjoy life 1 mile at a time. We are back for our last episode of Jammin' on the Run about the Princess Half Marathon, which was an amazing experience. Loved it. Cannot wait to get into the conversation. But first, I have to say hello and intro my lovely co-vloggers. We have Rob. Hello, Rob.
Hi there.
And we have Jackie.
Hi.
And we had Megan, who was there for the 10K and the 5K, but unfortunately could not do the half. So I'll be doing some heavy lifting in this episode. So with that, let's get into it and talk about the Princess Half.
So finishing up now, Laura. So it's your show now for the half, since Megan did not participate in the half.
Nope.
It's kind of the same story, right? Like you're still walking the race. So what did you think about the half?
I was worried. I know we discussed that when I FaceTimed you. You know, after I finished the 10K the day prior, the only thing I could think of was, oh my gosh, I got to do that all over again, times two the next day. So I kind of, I went into it with some anxiety and stress, and I'll be honest, I was tapped out by that moment. Tapped out from being injured. Just tapped out about not being normal. That's a reason why I've decided to pull out of the cherry blossom in April, because I don't want to walk another 10K, and I'm not quite at that point where I can run it. I'm just kind of over it. But I did tell myself that I didn't want to miss it from not being present because I'm worried about my injury. I brushed it aside. I was going to enjoy that race. I was going to make better choices, and for the most part, I did. And I was going to enjoy it for what it was because, injured or not, walking or running is still a blessing. I was in Disney World, sorry. So, life's pretty sweet. But for this race, we did go with a Beauty and the Beast theme. Our group did. So we had Belle, and we had Mrs. Potts, and we had the Beast, and I was Gaston. Oh, because you had to be. I kept with the villain theme the whole weekend for some reason. So a fun costume. It was a comfortable costume. I kind of wish I would have taped my or pinned my belt down because it kept riding up, during the race, but it was okay. So we got there early and we got in line for Belle. Again, it was crazy, crazy crowded. But we met some others from our group. So we had it pretty planned out where our group ran up, got a picture. I got a picture alone with Belle, and then everyone ran up and we got a picture. So we had it timed pretty well. So I was kind of happy to get a picture with Belle, and she's kind of like looking away like, oh, Gaston. So that was pretty fun. The walk, anyone who's done the half before, it's a very long walk to the corrals. So we didn't dally too much longer. We turned in our bags and we headed on out because I didn't want to be rushing for that. And Kelly and Stephanie were in Corral D. I was in C, so I moved up to that one because I needed all the time I could get. And I shot some video from the very front for the beginning, and then I walked to the back, and people were like, "You're going the wrong way." But I didn't want to be trampled or anything, so I did start at the back for, I think it was like 3 waves that they did. I should have paid more attention, but I definitely think that's a good idea. I like the way that they did that. Oh, a little side note on the monorail ride over. There was a gentleman there holding the 1 hour 33 pace group.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah, he's a little fast, but he's one of the gentlemen in charge of the pacing there, and we got to chat with him and learn some things. And he actually was in Corral B or A, and I was like, oh, so I thought that men were supposed to start a corral back. He goes, no, we have special consideration. There's going to be, pacer up there that they are starting with A. So we had an interesting conversation with him about pacing at Run Disney. But anyway, yeah, the race started. Lovely fireworks. The good old send off from Rudy and John always gets everyone excited. Um, and then for the first, I think it was first 3 miles, my intent was to try to stay at a 16-mile minute. That was my goal. If I did at least 16 or 18, then I knew I had enough leadway where I did not want to have to stress about the balloon ladies again. And for the most part, I kind of stuck with that. Oh, I did see Gerald from Rez Runs. If you ever watch any of his recaps, they're amazing. I saw a guy holding up a gimbal trotting by, and I was like, Gerald, it's Laura from Joyful Miles. So, Gerald, if you almost tripped, I'm sorry because it was very dark when I yelled that, but I did see him. So, I just went by the characters. They did have the pirate ship out, and Jack Sparrow. So he was good to see because they didn't have him out last year. And they had the princes right before the Magic Kingdom sign. So I'm guessing that's about like what, 2 miles? And, I didn't keep very good track of the characters because I wasn't stopping for them. But I am going to flash up some pictures as we're talking and the mile markers. But yeah, I just kept a good pace. I kept steady. I thought I had got tracker notification all set up, but I didn't get any type of tracking. And there came a few points where I started texting friends. It's like, does anyone, know where the balloon ladies are? And our dear friend Shaylee, hi Shaylee, she is the one who joined us to talk about the New York Marathon. She helped me out a lot by keeping me in track with where the balloon ladies were, and so did Anna and some other friends. I was a little bad and I stopped for a picture with Mrs. Incredible, but she was wearing red, black, and yellow. I was wearing red, black, and yellow. I had to do it. So it was a cute picture. I was kind of glad I stopped for her. And then, of course, we come to the absolute best part of the race. But when we were coming around, we had Spaceship. No, it wasn't Spaceship Earth. It was Space Mountain in the background. I saw another girl who was dressed as the Beast. Megan, she had on the same tank top that you had on for the 10K. That was so cute. So I was like, hey, can I get a picture with you? And we're kind of like, like posing in front of Spaceship Earth. I mean, I'm not Spaceship Earth. I did it again. It's very late when we filmed this,
Space
by the
Mountain.
way. Space Mountain. So we came into the very best part, and they did make a few changes in the course, which I liked. Before they would have the mile 5 marker right around that corner where you have to come in and then do like this really hard U-turn. So people were trying to get pictures by the mile 5 marker and then rejoin the course. It was kind of a dangerous situation. So they adjusted that. That was a good change. Coming down Main Street, though, oh my gosh, I love it when you enter from the side and everyone is cheering and the
Mhm.
signs and the music and you see the tree and you come around and you make that turn and then there's the castle. I mean, I don't care how many races I do, it just always gives me chills. It's so, so gorgeous and beautiful. I love that part. And then, of course, we looped into Tomorrowland, and I did stop for a couple castle pictures because the line was very minimal. And then I saw Buzz Lightyear out. He is always like when you come into Tomorrowland and then you loop up, you make a left-hand turn up towards Fantasyland. They always have him there to the right, and people aren't looking, so there's never a very long line for him. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to stop and get a character picture. The line is short, so I did stop. But then coming through, they did change the course a little bit. And something that was a big concern to many people was whether they were going to run through the castle. Because the picture that Run Disney released, the course map, kind of gave the impression that they weren't, that we were going to run in front of the castle, which of course, people were very upset about because that's the whole, appeal with this race. So, but very happy to report that we did indeed run through the castle. But first, they looped us a different way. We kind of went around Fantasyland to where the entrance to the circus area is. Is that what it's called?
Mhm.
The big top
Storybook Circus.
storybook. Okay. So we looped around there, came in front of Seven Mine Train, headed up towards the area, and there is this humongous character line to the right. So I have to stop and ask who's there, and it's Gaston.
Oh,
Gaston! Gaston! Oh my gosh, my heart was dying because I was dressed as Gaston, and I wanted a picture with him so bad. So I got in line because I was like, I'm good. There's still so many people behind me. I should be good. But this line was super slow. I don't know if Gaston was being chatty. Dude, you just need to stand there and smile pretty, okay? And let us take our pictures. So the whole time I'm stressing, and I'm looking at people's bibs, and I'm seeing like, Corral M, Corral O, Corral P. And by that time, I was like, I have to leave. I have to leave. I cannot be swept. We weren't even, 2 mile 6 yet. I cannot be swept over getting a picture with Gaston, however lovely he may be. And especially, oh my gosh, I saw a woman carrying a balloon. Honey, that's not funny. You don't do
It's
that at a Run Disney race, okay? You do not wear a balloon or carry a balloon for your costume.
a hell of
So,
a costume. I'm dressing up as a balloon
well,
lady.
she was holding it down too, so I think she realized that having the balloon up, I didn't even notice her costume. I just saw the balloon and my mind just went, whoa, you know. So I think she kind of learned and she
You're
was
missing
holding
it.
it down. But anyway, after that, I kind of had this panic, how far the balloon lays back. So I did start to walk very fast, and I was rushing because I wanted to make up a little bit of time. So I can't even tell you what the rest of the characters were. Oh, they had the Beast. Oh, at the entrance of Be Our Guest, they had the Beast. Oh gosh, I was dying from not getting these
How do you
character
even get those?
pictures.
Like, how do people even get those with the lines as long as they
The
are?
lines were insane,
Like, did
insane.
the girls you knew that were in C, did they get those?
I don't think they got it with Gaston. If they did, they didn't show me because it probably would have been too painful. I think they missed Gaston. I think they missed the Beast. If they
I
did
was
get
gonna
it, I
say,
will
like,
flash them up now.
actually,
But
who actually gets those? The Corral A people are typically just hustling right through, so you gotta
yeah,
wonder.
it was insane. And then going through the castle, I mean, this was a humbling experience because I've never had a situation where I couldn't run through the castle before. It was always had, clear rain and not this time. I mean, it was very hard to get through. A lot of people, they had Anna and Elsa up greeting everybody, and a lot of people would stop right there to take pictures, and you really can't do that. If you want a picture, you need to move to the side because it became a safety issue trying to get around these people who were taking pictures. I know you're excited. I was excited. Everyone's excited, but you have to come to the side. So getting through that was a little stressful. And, then we made our way around into Frontierland. They had a lot of characters out. I'm going to have to put it up on the screen because I can't remember who. Because by this time, I was like in this frenzy of just finishing. Uh,
Did you see the Country Bears?
no, I
Oh
would
my
have. I would
god.
have.
Like,
Oh,
into it.
wait. I think I did. I think I
Liver Lips wasn't out kissing
did.
people.
I
The
think
liver
I
lip?
think I did. I know Jesse was out. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure I saw Jesse. I
I
don't
can handle
know.
it.
Yeah, I
I
can
hate
handle
missing.
Jesse. Unless we were dressed as Jesse.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, so I kind of like rushed and then I made myself calm down a little bit. And then once we got back out onto the open road in front of the Contemporary, it was still very crowded. At that point, it was more walkers than it was runners. And I don't know if that's normal. It seemed like I know it was a different perspective for
That's the
me, but I
worst
asked a
part.
lot of other people too. I was like, did it seem like there was a lot more walkers? And I'm not saying this in a disrespectful way. I'm just making conversation because it did seem like that. But also, the princess is the first race for a lot of people, which I think is wonderful. If it brings them to the sport, I think it's fantastic. But I did notice that they had the guys
I
by
think
the
in the later, from what I've understood, though, a lot of the later corrals, there are people that either fast walk or their intervals are different. So their intervals are more of a walking interval versus a running interval.
yeah,
And I think exactly what you were saying. I said, I think it's awesome that these people took that on. It is frustrating, I think, for them also is to not be able to run through the castle.
mm-hmm.
I think it just gets so backed up, whether those are people that have started in earlier corrals that have stopped for a lot of pictures and then, back up there, or people who are legitimately walking and trying to maintain that pace, which if I'm in the last corral and I know that I have to walk at that 16-minute mile, or I've trained at a 15-minute mile and I bust my butt to be able to get there, it's kind of frustrating to not be able to continue at that pace too. But
Yeah.
I think it's interesting your perspective, not usually being at that, the back of the pack per se, and having to deal with, it's a totally different
It's very
situation.
different. I wish everyone could have that same magical experience that you see in the pictures, where
It's
there's
hard because
only,
that's what they sell you on.
it
They
is,
sell you
it's
on that
hard.
magical run through the castle, and
Hmm.
it's
But
not usually from
yeah,
people.
I do think they're
The
really making
cattle
an
being
effort
herded
though.
through.
Hmm.
I think this was my first race, and then I've done the Goofy and the Dopey, and doing the half for those. I don't like this course, and it's
because of the point from the castle to probably you get to the Grand Floridian.
It's
Hmm.
very
It's so
crowded.
narrow, and I'm typically toward the back, and it's 3 people wide. It just becomes very stressful because either the runners are running out of the walk. It just, to me, it's the worst part,
Hmm.
and so it's hard for me to redo Princess because of that reason, for that
Yeah,
section. So I get it. And like you said, like I've never experienced being able to run through that ever.
yeah.
It's always dodging, weaving, or just saying, forget it, I'll just
Hmm.
walk. And it's not against anyone. It's a very narrow part of the course. What can you
Yes.
do?
Yeah, Kern
Right.
Alley is very difficult. But then we opened up onto the highway and it definitely eased up a lot and I
Mm.
relaxed and I actually stopped for a picture with Captain Jack. Yeah. Because I felt relatively safe and dang it, I wanted a picture with them because they weren't there last year and who's to say they'll be there next year. And then once we came into Epcot, that's when I just totally let out that breath of air and okay, it's cool. I'm fine. I stopped for a picture with Mushu. I think that's who it
Mm-hmm.
was. Yes. And before we came into Epcot, so, all in all, this whole weekend, I know I'm saying a lot of negative things, but actually it was one of my favorite, probably the favorite Princess Half Marathon, or at least it would be if I wasn't injured. It just seemed like the whole weekend was so fun, so energetic. We had so much fun with the gals in our group and just a lot of fun. So yeah, it was a great weekend and it was a great race, but I have to say that I was so thankful for finishing. It got to the point where I was like, oh gosh, where is the finish line? Because I kind of was done. I was exhausted. I was just, mentally tapped out. So I was very happy to see that finish line.
I was going to ask, since you've done a lot
And
of
I
these Princess races, how does this one stack up? And you think it stacks up pretty high?
Well, I don't know if I'm not meaning just for that. I guess the whole experience as a whole. We have I stay with these lovely, lovely ladies who I adore that just have a blast, and we just had so much fun. But the actual walking of the course, that part sucked. There's no way to get around that for me being injured, and I was also exhausted because even though I conditioned as much as I possibly could on the stationary bike, it's not the same as walking.
Uh-huh.
So while my foot felt good. Everything else hurt, and I was so tired, and I was just exhausted, and it really just knocked the wind out of me. But I don't know. I just had a great time still, so it was
Did
fun.
you like, obviously the boot was a little more painful, but did it seem harder walking this one or the wine and dine? Like in
Well,
regards to like seeming like it's taking forever or feeling.
yeah, both it did seem to take forever. I will say, and I hope this doesn't sound wrong, but when I wore the boots, I had a lot of support. People would holler things out to me like, "Oh, you got this. You're a beast," and just it's making me sound like an attention hog, but it was nice, when people acknowledge the fact that, hey, you're hurt, but you're out here, you're doing it. You're probably stupid, but
Okay.
but you're out there, and that really got me through wine and dine. The amazing support that I got from other runners, from spectators, race announcers and all that. So, but I don't think I could, God willing, I'm better by Disneyland because that was just, yeah. I don't want to ever have to do that again.
Well, I think it also begs, to say the people that actually walk these, I find walking that amount of distance more difficult than running, at
Yeah,
least
I
on my
agree.
shin. Like it definitely wears on you, and
Hmm.
so the people that have the ability to walk it and are training to walk it, I give them a whole lot of credit
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
I give you a lot of credit because I probably wouldn't have been able to do
I wouldn't do it.
It's so
I wouldn't.
exhausting.
Wouldn't. I wouldn't do it.
Well, I mean, had I been conditioned to walk, maybe that would have eased it. But yeah, especially, and think about it where I started. I started up in C. So I have like this huge buffer, from the people that are in the last corral. So
Right.
yeah, anyone it is possible to walk. I don't want someone to hear what I'm talking about and be like, oh, I can't walk this race. I can't do it. I had some emotional injury things going on, but it is possible. You really just have to pace yourself. Don't stop for character photos, but it is very possible to walk and have a blast walking still. So I hope that my experience doesn't turn someone off from that.
Well, I think Run Disney's original, in their literature, they talk about training as they said, train for a 15-minute mile to allow in case you need to use the porta potty or the restroom or those types of things. I think, that did take, when I think about a different race, the 10K, I know we've moved on to, to talking about the half, but that was one thing that took a considerable amount of time is, we had to stop to use a porta potty along the side of the road. And,
Mhm.
when you've got an 11-year-old and you have to shine your flashlight with your cell phone so they can do and there's two people in a porta potty, it is not a big place. So it did take a considerable amount of time. And then when it was my turn to go to the restroom in a flushing toilet, I'm not waiting for you. I'm like, oh yeah, honey, you are waiting for me. So I'm like, it's a lot quicker. But those are the things that I think you have to, if you're going to walk these races, or if it's your first race and you're looking at that type of, you do need to train and consistently be at a 15-minute mile pace, or you definitely are in risk of being swept, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I agree. Because one long porta potty line could be 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
That's right there.
Yeah,
That's your
that's
minute.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely helps if you have a Garmin or some type of tracking and you set it so it does not pause while you stop. That way you can really have an accurate account of how long you're taking. So, but yeah, you definitely be careful, have fun. It's still a great race. I will always have a soft spot in my heart for the Princess Half Marathon because it was my first Run Disney event. It's kind of like training for that brought me out of a very bad time in my life, and I will always be grateful for that. So I am signed up for 2018, and I'm ready to do it again. Hopefully, running. I'm hoping
You will.
we're
You'll
there.
be running.
You will. Any final thoughts? Any closing thoughts? Anybody wants to talk about this weekend?
The only thing I can say, I mean, the overall vibe, for me at least, I mean, it was different running it, with my daughter the whole weekend. But I think it's a good experience. It's a good weekend if you're going to bring a child, or, your daughter, or even a son. I think it's a good weekend to be able to do it. I think there's a lot of encouragement, a lot of really positiveness, that far outweighs any of the negativity that comes along with, anything you hear
Yeah,
outside of that.
absolutely.
Any transportation issues? Anything?
No, the
No,
monorail. We had some
I'm just a
traffic.
little annoyed that the monorail is not running all 3 days. Just, if I
Yeah.
Yeah.
can say,
I don't
I mean,
understand.
that's just my one piece. If you stay at a monorail resort, you're expecting the monorail to run all 3 days and not have to get on buses. But that's my only beef.
Mhm. It got a little backed up there on Sunday morning. It wasn't long. It certainly wasn't as long as waiting in traffic in a bus, though. So it was very convenient for the half. And our buses we got on right away at Bay Lake. All Stars that's where, no, yeah, we were at Bay Lake for the 5K. Yes, we were. Sorry, I'm forgetting my travel days, but I haven't heard of any transportation issues. If anyone listening to this did experience any, please leave them in the comments below. We would love to find out about that. So,
And this
yeah.
is a predominantly female race, but plenty of men you guys saw running around.
Oh yeah, and some were wearing tutus and costumes. I didn't see the princess men though. Fail, epic fail on my part. There's these guys and they dress as princesses and they're awesome. And
They're great.
Pocahontas is like the best poser ever. Taking some lessons. So I didn't see them, but if you look up the hashtag Princess Men, you will see tons of fun pictures. So they're a lot of fun. But yeah, they do start the men in, is it Corral A or C? Oh my
They,
goodness.
I think they were. I
I
think I
think
saw a lot of
B.
blog posts about them. They were later. I think they were in like G, maybe.
Oh,
They
I'm
were.
talking about
They were.
men. They don't allow men in like the Corral A.
Oh,
They,
oh.
yeah,
I think they
sorry.
start in B. They might start in B.
Yes. Because I was talking with the pacer. They would like for a woman to win because it is a woman-oriented race, and
Mhm.
you know, uh,
Yes, but it's certainly men are allowed to
oh,
do it, and
absolutely,
if
men
it's a
are totally
conception
allowed.
that
Yeah.
it's a women only race. I mean, I feel like it's a women race. I don't know if I would ever run it, but Plenty of guys certainly do it.
But you would rock a tutu if you
I
did.
totally
I'm
would.
just
I mean, I'm not
saying.
denying that.
Just saying. Challenge. Well, that is going to wrap it up. We are finally done talking about the amazing Princess Half Marathon. If you missed our previous videos about the Expo and the 5K and the 10K, the links are below, as well as links to all my video recaps and blog recaps that we did on Joyful Miles. Lots of content to sort through. But as always, thank you so much for watching. We truly, truly appreciate your support. We appreciate every single person who stopped and took the time to say hello over Princess Half Weekend. It just makes my day so much to hear how we are inspiring you, because that's why we're doing this, because we want to inspire you to enjoy life. What? 1 mile at a time.
1 mile at a
I was
time.
hoping someone's going to
That's
pick up
me on a
on that.
shirt.
So, with that, I'm going to wrap this up. Please subscribe, give us a thumb up if it was helpful. And if you were at the Princess Half Marathon, we would love to know how your experience was. Please leave that in the comments below. And until then, happy running and have a joyful day.
Bye.
Jackie, send us home, baby girl.
Joyful Miles!
Yeah.